What is up, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Today we're doing a Q&A video, so basically questions and answers, because about, I think 2 days ago, I reached out to you guys on Instagram and Facebook and asked you to ask me questions about anything, and you guys really delivered. Now I have 200 plus questions to go through and try to hopefully answer. So as you can understand, I won't have time to answer all of them today, but this whole Q&A thing is something I want to do on at least a weekly basis. So if you don't get your question answered today, do not fear. Hopefully I will have time to answer that next week or at some other point. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What is, in your opinion, the minimal costing setup to still produce a sound quality better than a potato? Not a quality to record for a song or anything, just enough to make out what's being played.
For a minimal costing setup, like you can get really far with just an iPhone or one of the higher model Androids. Like I'm using my Samsung Galaxy S6. Obviously, I don't use the audio from that for my Instagram videos and everything, but like when I just like the audio from that is, it's fine. It works. I can hear everything I'm playing pretty clearly. I use that for live streaming and stuff, so that works just fine. But if you don't want to use your phone, or if you don't have a phone like that, you could just try to get your hands on like one of these Zoom recorders, like the Zoom H4 or any of those. So look up the Zoom recorders and you'll see what I mean. Those are great for that purpose.
Is drumming your full-time job?
I'm very happy to say that drumming is in fact my full-time job, and I've been doing just drums and nothing else since February last year. So it's coming up. It's almost 1 year now that I've been doing just drums, and it's been really amazing. I mean, it's been a real struggle. It still is a struggle to get the economy to work and everything, but I'm doing the best I can, and it just feels so good to not have to focus on anything else. I can get up every day and just focus 100% on drums, and the struggle that comes with it, it's definitely worth it.
What made you decide to put your 10-inch tom after your 12-inch?
So this is another question I get a lot, and the main reason why I originally changed to toms was because I just wanted to challenge myself. But I've seen a lot of drummers like Annika Nilles and Kelly Aronoff and a bunch of these guys change their rack toms, like invert them. So I figured that could be beneficial for me to try to do that and kind of see maybe that would change my approach to fills. Maybe I would come up with some new stuff. So yeah, the original idea was just to challenge myself and try to think of fills, like approach my fill writing a little differently, because the changed setup would force me to do that. And eventually I just really started to enjoy the setup, and I realized that because when I gig, I usually just bring a one up, one down setup. So having the 12-inch in front of me like I do now when I've changed the rack toms around really made that transition smooth. So when I sit down behind my kit now, it's like the best of both worlds from playing a 4-piece and a 5-piece, because I have the 12-inch right in front of me. I can bring the ride a little bit closer, and I still have the 10-inch rack tom for whenever I need it. So I can play 5-piece kind of tom fills and stuff. It's just I have to do the sticking a little differently. But once you get used to it, it's so much better, in my opinion, than just having one up, one down, or the normal setup. For me, at least, this works a lot better. So I'm probably going to stick with this pretty much forever. It really feels awesome.
Did you study something? University? How old are you?
I haven't studied at any university or anything like that. I only finished the part of school that in Sweden is called gymnasiet, which is basically what you finish when you're like 19. There I could kind of choose a direction I wanted to go in, and the direction I chose was engineering. So at the time I was studying like a lot of physics and maths and stuff. But then after I finished that, I really decided that drums is my thing. I want to go with a career in drums. So that's what I did, and now I'm 21. I'm about to turn 22 in February.
How much time do you practice per day?
All right, so this question is actually a little tricky for me to answer, so I need to explain why here. The thing is, like, if you think of practicing as in actually sitting down, like, okay, today I'm gonna work on independence, I'm gonna do this and that exercise and that kind of stuff, I really don't do that. Like, my method of practicing has, over the last 2.5 years since I started doing this whole Instagram thing, and since I basically started working on my career, my practice method has been to work on things that I want to do. Like I work on things for a video, I work on something I need to learn for a song I'm recording, or for a song I'm learning for a gig, like kind of stuff like that. So if I'm practicing something, I'm practicing it for a specific purpose, not just all around practice. I don't have time to just sit down and exercise and practice things for the heck of it. And that exercise and stuff has never really been my thing anyway. So that what I'm trying to say here is, depending on how much I have to do, if I'm making a lot of videos, or if I have a lot of songs to learn, or if I'm recording an album or something, depending on how much I have to do at the time, the amount of time I spend practicing per day can be anywhere from 30 minutes just to do something really quick and then I need to go somewhere, or like 15 hours, like morning to evening, like all day long. So it really depends. But if I have to say on average, maybe I spend an average of, I don't know, 3 hours per day, 2 3 hours per day behind the kit doing stuff, like on average. But it's really hard to say.
Are you Iranian? Because your name is Iranian.
Now, this is by far the most common question I get. Like, you guys ask me this all the time. And no, I'm not from Iran. I'm actually born and raised in Sweden, but my dad is from Iran. So I have a Persian name, I have the Persian looks and everything, but I can't speak the language. I only visited the country once when I was like 6, and I just generally don't have much connection with that part of my family or that culture or anything. So I'm just a Swedish guy with a Persian name.
What are your thoughts on jazz drumming?
Whenever I see a good jazz drummer, I'm always left in awe. Like, I can't play jazz for shit. I'm really bad at like comping and stuff. It's just something I haven't really worked on. So, whenever, like I said, whenever I see a good jazz drummer, I'm just like, oh, I wish I could do that. I really need to put into practice. So jazz is amazing. I love listening to jazz. It's just I can't really play it. But that's definitely on my bucket list. That's something I want to get better at some point. But yeah, basically jazz is awesome.
How tall are you, and do you have any siblings?
I'm somewhere around 195 centimeters tall, so I don't know what that would be in feet and stuff, but yeah, almost 2 meters tall. So you see that lamp behind me right there? I usually hit my head in that thing all the time. So I probably lost a couple of brain cells over the years. But yeah, 195 centimeters tall, and I have two siblings. I have one older brother. He's 5 years older than me, and I have an older sister as well. She's 4 years older than me. So I'm the youngest one in the family, but I'm also the tallest.
How did you learn all the fills you play, and also the ones from your book? Did you learn them from a book or from a video? Because I think it's amazing that you've been able to learn all this yourself. It shows a lot of talent.
So first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. I really do appreciate it. But when it comes to writing fills and grooves and licks and all of this like general creativity in writing and coming up with new things, my approach to it has always been to work with things I already know. Like, sure, I just like everyone else, I enjoy watching other drummers. I like taking inspiration from others and watching videos and copying stuff and trying to get that into my own playing. But for the most part, I just like to work with what I already know. So I'll take fills. We all know a bunch of different fills and licks and stuff. So I'll just take what I know, combine that together, change the sticking, remove that note at the end, and put something else there, and just change the orchestration, start the fill earlier, start it later, change the subdivision, like that kind of stuff, because you can get really far with just stuff you already know. And the benefit of that is you will also be very aware of everything you play, because it's stuff you already know in some way. So not all of it is brand new. You'll be aware of it, you can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can change it at your leisure. And also another benefit is that since it all comes from you, it forms a very coherent style. Like you can really form your own style in fills. It will all sound a little similar, but not in a bad way. Like people will be able to hear it's you. And that's a really good thing if you want to stand out. So that's kind of how I do it. And the same thing with that book you mentioned. By the way, self-plug, you can get it here. 100 transcriptions of drum fills, licks, and chops. But the thing with that was the same thing there. Just a bunch of fills and stuff I've played and written down over the years. Just put those together to form that book, just to have something to kind of sell and kind of, to inspire others. So that's kind of my way to do it. I like to draw inspiration for myself. I would recommend you try the same approach.
I see everyone is asking for a lesson, but what was your biggest gig and how did you get it?
I guess the biggest gig I got is not necessarily like one venue or one thing that I did, but I would say generally it's with the tribute band that I'm playing with right now. It's basically a tribute band for a major Swedish artist called Thomas Ledin. And basically we play shows from down south to all the way north, like all across Sweden, and pretty regularly, and it's decent sized venues from time to time, a lot of pubs and stuff as well, but it pays pretty well and it's a lot of fun, and overall it's a pretty established band. And the way I got that gig was basically just from putting out an ad, like on a Swedish ad site for musicians. And I was like, hey, this is me, this is what I do, I play drums, so I want to play more shows and stuff. And it only took about a week before they found me and reached out to me when they were looking for a new drummer, when they were kind of just starting out. And that was like May last year, and I've been playing with them since. So it's been a lot of back and forth and stuff with the band, like with members and stuff. But now we're starting to get kind of organized, and it's so much fun. So yeah, you just put yourself out there, put out some ads and stuff, and sometimes you get lucky.
How often do you change your drum heads?
Well, considering I spend quite a lot of time beating my drums and I hit pretty hard as well, I usually have to change at least the snare head like once every 2 or 3 months at the most, like every 2 months probably. I want to change the snare head to keep a nice tone. As for the tom heads, like the tom batter heads and the kick drum head, I would want to change that at least every 6 months. But sometimes I don't can't really always afford that. So maybe like say once per year, at least once per year, I would want to change the batter heads for the toms and the kick batter head. Snare resonant head, like every two times I change the batter head, maybe I'll change the resonant. And tom resonant heads, not so often. Usually whenever I want to try something new, like for the tone of them, so maybe like once every 1.5 years or something. It's hard to say, but snare head most definitely once every 2 or 3 months. That's the most frequent head I change out.
Do you tune your tom heads the same on the bottom and top? I'm on board with Joe. I was looking to find some tuning advice. Your kit always sounds pristine.
Trevor, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that. But when it comes to tuning, like for the toms, for the rack toms, last time I tuned them, like when I changed the heads, I tried to tune them to a minor third interval, so that the batter head would be the lower in pitch, and the resonant head would be a minor third above, and that really worked well. Like usually, previously I've only tuned them. I usually tune the resonant head a little higher than the batter head, so I don't tune them the same. But I usually just do that and just kind of go by ear. But this time I tried to, like I said, minor third, and that worked really well for the rack toms. For the floor tom, I do things a little differently. I tune the batter head like super low since I have this EMAT on there. I basically tune it as low as I can, and then I bring the bottom head, the resonant head, pretty high up in pitch to make the drum project. And then I put cotton balls on the inside to help control the sustain a little because of the higher pitch resonant head. And that combo gives me the floor tom sound that I have, and I really enjoy it. Bass drum, I just kind of the resonant head, the front head, I tune like medium, just to kind of to give the drum some tone. And the batter head, I tune pretty loose, like you can really see it with a lot of give when I play it. So pretty loose batter head, just kind of to get that real low, fat, smacky tone. For the snare drum, resonant head almost cranked, like really, really high for the sensitive ghost notes and everything. And then it gives the snare drum a nice pop and crack, and it has a nice bouncy feel when you play it. And for the batter head, I tune that pretty damn high as well, not super cranked, but pretty high. And just kind of tune that to the pitch that I like. So I tune all the drums, as you can hear, a little bit differently. Rack toms one way, floor tom one way, snare drum, bass drum. But in like the whole big picture, that's kind of how I do it.
What mics and software do you use to record the audio?
You can actually find a full list of all the gear I use on my website. So click the eye up there and you'll be taken there, and you'll find info about the drums, cymbals, hardware, and like you're asking about recording equipment like mics and audio interface, software, and everything. So go check that out.
Are you waiting for a drum endorsement before you get new drums, or are you happy with your current set? Are you from the same place as Marco Minnemann? Your mannerisms are a lot like his.
I actually have a drum endorsement with King Drums from San Diego in California, but our deal is more like, we're more like two friends helping each other out. It's nothing like signed officially on a paper or anything like that. But, I have my King Drums custom snare and I absolutely love it. And we are working on a fully custom kit for me. Hopefully we'll get it all done. And, it's a bit of a hassle to get it shipped here to Sweden and everything. And I'm a little short on money right now. But hopefully we'll have it done and I'll have it here in Sweden by this summer. About the Marco Minnemann part, he's actually from Germany, so we're not really from the same place, but it's funny that you would mention that, because now that I think about it, I guess we're both like kind of goofy in a way. So, I mean, yeah, there's your answer.
Cats or dogs?
Easy, dogs. I can't stand cats. Like, I really cannot stand cats. I wish I had a dog, man. Dogs are awesome.
How important do you think social media is for the modern drummer trying to make a living as a drummer?
I cannot stress enough how incredibly important social media is. Like, if you're a drummer trying to get out there, you're trying to make a name for yourself and land endorsements and gigs and just kind of make a career, make a living of playing drums, you pretty much have to do social media in some way. I mean, unless, say you're living in like Los Angeles or something, like one of these big music cities like Nashville or something, I mean, you can still make a career from drums without any social media presence whatsoever, just because the place you live is so filled with music. But for us other people like me, I live in a small town here in Sweden. Like, no one is going to know who I am if I'm not visible online. So, 2.5 years ago, before I started social media, I was like just another drummer sitting in my rehearsal studio just practicing. No one knew who I was, and then I just started doing social media, and I started getting a following and doing all of that, and I have improved so much over this period of time just from doing that as well, from pushing myself every day to show my best side all the time. So for your own sake, for your own personal growth, social media is very important as well. But overall, I've gotten endorsements and gigs and all these opportunities and stuff just from being visible. My whole career so far is pretty much based on social media in some way. So I mean, like I said, I can't stress it enough. Social media is so important. That's how the music business works these days. The drummers like me and all these other guys who are visible on social media, we are like the next generation of drummers that will take the stage one day, So it's incredibly important. Like, do social media in some way. Just get yourself out there, and good things will come. By the way, speaking of social media and all of that stuff that I just talked about, here's a little self-plug, so bear with me, I'll make it quick. But when I do Skype lessons and that kind of stuff, like the main thing that I really enjoy to talk about and help people with is exactly that, like getting yourself out there, starting on social media, just starting that journey and making a career for yourself. So if you guys want to learn more about that, just hit me up. You can click the link up there to read more about my Skype lessons and kind of how that works. I would love to mentor you guys and help you get started with your careers just as I started. Start from scratch, from nowhere, and to get to that point where within like 2 years you can actually make a living from playing drums, just as I have. So I would love to share what I know with you guys and help you get started with your careers. So with it, that's the end of this little self plug. So let's hit me up and let's move on.
Which sticks do you use? I know it's Vader, but what size?
So I'm using the Vader Gospel Series Fusion sticks. These are basically in between 5A and 5B in weight, and they have a little bit of extra length, and they have a ball tip. So if these had a barrel tip, they would be the absolute perfect sticks for me. But they're really, really close. So these are what I'm using right now, and they're pretty spot on. I love the weight and like the balance of these. They're really effortless to play with, and they fit me kind of perfectly. So Vader Gospel Series Fusion sticks. Alright guys, so that will be it for today's Q&A video. Like I said, if you didn't get your questions answered today, I will try to answer them in the next video or the one after that. And, you get the idea. But basically, I'm heading away for a gig tomorrow, and then I'm actually heading down to Germany to the Meinl headquarters to handpick some cymbals and meet the people there. It's going to be such an awesome journey. But I will be back up and running again in the middle of next week, and I will try to make another video like this. Where I include a bunch of more of you guys' questions. And like I said, you can also add more questions to this whole thing. So keep posting your questions, and I will try to answer them at some point. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you again soon. Take care.